Hello, my pretties. It's the Lion Queen here. Welcome to another episode. And today we are going to be doing kind of a different video. Now, I did talk about this back in 2020 when I did a review on that, as well as I reviewed the show back in 2000, when I did a Shadows and Pretties episode. But I'm going to be talking about the most darkest episode of Teen Titans that I think it's one of the most darkest ones out of all of them. Now, I'm not gonna lie. Had been a bunch of Teen Titans episodes that had gotten dark, and there is a couple of other Teen Titans dark episodes of the show. I can name a few of them. Some people may argue that, well, there's of course another dark episode in Teen Titans which reveals to be the episode's name Haunted, which that one from season 3 is pretty much about Robin trying to defeat his inner demons, thinking Slade is in his head and think he's there when he really isn't. Now, that was for season 3. Now, I am going to be talking about this next episode called, The End. Now, most of you guys should know about what the end episode is, and it is split into 3 parts, and it happens to be the final 3 episodes of season 4 of the show. Now, of course, there's another dark episode of Teen Titans called How Long Is Forever. That's the one in season 2, dark episode season 2, where Starfire travels in time. But however, though, there are a couple other dark episodes throughout the show that does turn out to be dark in many ways. You may have not realized it or noticed it as a kid, but as an adult, you definitely have grown to notice it as well. Now, however, there are been other Teen Titans episodes in the past that happen to be pretty dark. And of course, I am going to say this, that there is a couple other dark episodes, such as Fear itself, that was a season 2 episode. I know that one was another dark episode, but at the same time, it did have dark episodes, and it has its fair share of dark episodes here and there. But I am going to be talking about The End, which of course was split into 3 different parts. And yeah, I'm going to be talking about that episode. Now, I know there is this YouTuber that reviewed these episodes for, you know, called, AJ Universe, which, by the way, he has pretty much reviewed every single episode of the original Teen Titans. He did review a couple, dark episodes too, and I have watched some of them in the past. And I haven't watched his videos on the Teen Titans in a long time, but some people may say Birthmark was one of the dark episodes, which I'm gonna be honest, that one was a dark one back when I watched it as a kid, and even as an adult, even then, that is still a dark episode, as well as the Prophecy. That one was another dark one. But however, though, The End, Part 1, 2, and 3 are the most darkest episodes I have ever seen. They are the most darkest episodes I have ever seen. I'm going to be brutally honest when I'm saying this now. It's one of the dark episodes of the show that I've ever seen. Now, when it comes to these, The End. Some people may argue that the Prophecy and Birthmark are the dark episodes of season 4. Well, The End, part 1 to 3, is by far, and I'm going to be honest, in my opinion, it is the most darkest episodes of Teen Titans history. Teen Titans had a fair share of dark episodes, but this one is definitely one of them. And I am being brutally honest, it's actually one of the most darkest videos of all time. I have never actually, expected, to see dark stuff when it came to, TV shows, but you clicked on this video pretty much to learn about the end episode, so let's start there. So, the end part 1, which pretty much is the first part of it, the startup, the about and the rising, storyline pretty much of, the rise in action of basically of this episode, which of course it's the end part 1. It aired on July 20 July 2nd of 2005, which is just turned a few, 18 years old today. Well, I guess the day I'm recording this, it is, but when it's uploaded, it's going to be, on a different day, but you'll get what I mean. Basically, in Teen Titans The End Part 1, for those of you who want a refresher, it's basically about Raven has feared for all of her life is finally there, which is the day that she'll end the world. However, Raven sees no hope in defeating Trigon, so she decides to make the Titans' last day perfect. However, they take Raven to the safety room to protect her. However, it's really hard to, keep Raven away. Now, most of you guys probably remember that the first episode, it starts off with the Titans, you know, um, when Raven wakes up, she finds, Trigon symbols burning on her arms, and then she's like outside on watching the sunrise. So, Robin, who's like a very close friend of hers, actually keeps going on, although she tries to make the Titans' last day perfect. So they battle plasmas and stuff. However, later on, it gets to the point where, Raven makes the last day perfect, and then she ends up summoning Trigon. And yes, there is demon worshipping in this episode. There is a lot of demon worshipping. So, there is demon worshipping in this episode because if you guys don't know, Raven is pretty much part human, part demon because her parents, El-Rella and Trigon, are both her parents. So Trigon's basically a half demon is pretty much like he's pretty much a demon, while El-Rella, who is Raven's mother, is human. So that makes Raven, half of her dad, half of her mom. So basically there is demon worshipping in the first part of the end, which it honestly makes me know for a fact that, well, the prophecy as well as the birthmark has a bit of, some symbols that are, Trigon symbols, which pretty much resembles demon worshipping, demons, Satanism, etc. Which, I mean, the end is like one of the most darkest episodes in part 1 because it shows Raven summoning a demon, aka her father. Honestly, though, a lot of people would really say that, Raven is a Satanist, which it could be possible, but at the same time, though, she's part demon and part human, so that's pretty questionable, actually. I'm a Christian myself, so I would not really know, but I do believe in, demon worshipping, and I do believe, about Satanism, but I'm not a Satanist, so I can't really say for sure if they exist or not, but I do know that demon worshipping in the first part of the end is one of the biggest reasons why the end is the most darkest episode. Well, all 3 parts are. But when I watched this as a kid, I didn't really quite understand the demon worshipping thing. But watching this again as an adult, it made me realize that, Trigon, who is pretty much Teen Titans' version of Satan, and pretty much has Raven to, pretty much summon him to take over the world. So, yeah, the end part 1 is definitely, well, the rise in action of pretty much what the show about the darkest episodes. Like I said, this is just my opinion, and if you disagree with me, that's fine. But I mean, I know some people are gonna be saying to me right now that, the end part, the end is actually a dark episode, but people some people might just say to me that, the episodes such as the birthmark and the prophecy were dark. Well, I can say those were dark episodes, but in my eyes, the end was actually one of the most darkest episodes I have ever seen. And it's actually one of the most darkest episodes. So, the end part 2 came out a few days after the end part 1. which came out on July 9th of 2005. So, honestly, this is pretty much Robin, Starfire, Beast Boy, and Cyborg wake up to find that Trigon has taken over everything and turned all life into stone, adding an old enemy. Then, as they plan to try to get Raven back, so they can reverse everything, so they can have everything go back to normal. That's basically what the episode is about. However, though, when Trigon's taken full of the Earth, Raven has been destroyed and all hope seems completely lost. However, the Titans are still active as Robin, and they have to survive pretty much like a demon hell like place. And it kind of reminds me of Doom because of the whole, atmosphere of, everything, being all hell like. It's pretty much kind of reminds me of the Doom games because of how dark this episode is. And I mean, I never thought in any Cartoon Network show they would show this, but I'm sure they might have done this in other shows, but if not, Teen Titans has to be one of the most darkest ones that they have tackled. But they did this in the kid-friendly way, just so it doesn't not only not frighten anybody, but makes people understand the exact way as, we may think. Now, as an adult, I found part 2 to be a little bit more unnerving in this point. However, though Raven has they have to travel to rescue Raven. However, Slade reveals that Raven might be alive. But she at the end of the episode of part 2, which of course some of you guys may know, Raven is pretty much a young girl. Like she's like younger in her younger version of this. So honestly, that's where part 2 of the end is. Honestly, the end part 2 is just as dark as the first part because it involves, the whole place being, burned to hell and it looks like hell itself, which I mean, honestly, I wouldn't be surprised if, if anyone who's watched this show, but anyone who's watched this show as a kid would probably see how dark this episode was, like the second part, as well as the first part, which I have to say, it's a dark episode. I mean, it's like really crazy. I mean, I like the fact that, Starfire, Beast Boy, and Cyborg had evil versions of themselves, which honestly was pretty interesting to see the fights, although it was dark and stuff, but it still was a pretty good episode along with the first part of the end. Of course, we have the end, part 3, which is also known as the end, pretty much the end of the end series that it happens to be the dark episode, which the original air date was on July 16th of 2005. So this is pretty much everything turns back to good. So part 2 of the end is the climax of, the end series. So you could definitely say there is the biggest climax of it that honestly can still have it going on that most people may not notice about Teen Titans, but especially in the end. But most of you guys who have been following this channel for quite a while should probably remember or know that the end, part 2, yes, that's where the climax goes on. And it's actually pretty much one of the dark episodes. Now, seeing this again as an adult, I can understand why it's like a really dark episode, but I'm surprised these episodes have not been banned. But I'm surprised that, this show honestly has a good episode into a dark reality. So, basically in the end part 3, it has been Robin has discovered that Raven has been changed into a younger version of herself and doesn't remember the Titans or have her powers. So it's pretty much, reverse there's as her ages. So Robin convinces her to return with him and reunites with the Titans, to which of course she determined their fates, but the fate of the universe, so she battles Trigon. And basically when she pretty much confronts Trigon for him not being a good dad and that's when Raven ends up, well, that's when pretty much she ends up annihilates Trigon for good, and honestly turns the city and return it the way it was and the entire world to life. So, anyways, with that being the case and with that being said, the end part 3 did have a good ending and it had a falling action. And then the ending of end part 3 was the conclusion. So, in conclusion, the end was the most darkest episode in my personal eyes. Even though, yes, I know it was split into 3 parts, but it was the darkest episode of Teen Titans I have ever seen. Some people may argue the birthmark or the prophecy were dark, but once you've seen the end, you'll definitely know how dark it is. I mean, first time watching this as a kid, I was unnerved by, the atmosphere of, how everything it looks. Like it looks like hell itself. Like looks like it could be in a next Doom game because of how, dark the atmosphere is. But what I am very surprised is that Slade helps the Titans for once to, well, eliminate Trigon, which normally this is uncharacteristic of Slade because Slade is like usually the evil bad guy that tries to, well, you know, eliminate the Teen Titans. However, though, that's just me. But when it came to the end, honestly, it was one of the most darkest episodes that I have ever seen on TV. I mean, as a kid, I didn't quite understand it because in the end part from part 1 all the way to part 3, it's pretty much about demon worshipping, demon Trigon taking over the world, etc., etc. So I gotta say, this one is one of the darkest episodes I have ever seen. Like, I've never seen an episode so dark like this one. But do I actually really recommend this episode? Well, if you are a fan of the original Teen Titans, I highly recommend you check out this episode. This is definitely one you guys will never forget. It's one of the most darkest episodes of Teen Titans. Now, if you want to say that the end or the prophecy or even the birthmark is dark, let me know what you guys think about it. And I want you guys to maybe watch this episode again, even if you haven't watched it in a while. So, I mean, yeah. But with that being said, this is just my own opinion on this, well, certain episode of Teen Titans. Now, like I'm gonna say, this is just only my opinion on this. But honestly, it's just one of those episodes of Teen Titans that happens to be a dark one. But when I first saw the end parts from 1 to 3, as a kid, I wasn't really, sure because I honestly didn't know what to feel. It was honestly a pretty good episode, but yeah, but I can see that it's a pretty interesting episode of this show. Now, while it's a good episode as a kid, viewing it as an adult, I can definitely see why a lot of people see and feel that it's the darkest episode. Now, if you guys want to say and disagree with me saying, the prophecy or birthmark or haunted whatever episode that is dark in Teen Titans history to compare that's darker than this, well, I recommend you give the end part 1 to 3 another go because you'll definitely see it's a very dark series of Teen Titans. I mean, I'm really so glad I got to see this as a kid because honestly, as a kid, I didn't understand it, but as an adult, I see it in a different manner, and I honestly can really see more as to why people point out this is a dark episode. Now, I know I did a review of this episode back in 2020. Well, the episode, my review on it wasn't really the best now looking back at it because it's been a few years, but I still really have to say that this episode is still the darkest episode of Teen Titans. So, I guess with that being said and that being the case, um, what did you guys think of, well, Teen Titans The End from part 1 to part 3? Is it dark? Did you find it the dark, all of them dark? Did you find them not so dark? Did you like them? Did you not like them? Etc. Let me know what you guys think in the comments below, because I personally would like to hear what you all think of it. Now, as always, I'm the Lion Queen. I want to thank you so much for watching today's video, and if you're new to my channel, be sure to leave a like, comment, and subscribe if you're new. Ring the bell for notifications to when I upload, so that way you guys will not miss an upload. And as always, I'm going to sit here and say right now that, if you want to go follow me on Twitter and if you want to go follow me on DeviantArt, link to that will be in the About page section of my channel. So you guys can go follow my Twitter and DeviantArt account if you're interested. Also, be sure to follow me on my backup channel known as Miss Dark Shigo, as link to that will also be in the About page section. So feel free to go check that one out if you haven't. And yeah, as always, if I'm missing anything about, this dark episode of Teen Titans The End Part 1 to Free, let me know if I'm missing anything in the comments below, and I'd like to hear what you guys think. And you guys can add your thoughts and opinions, etc., if you like. So as always, I guess I'll see you guys in the next video. So yeah, peace out everyone, and like always, roll the outro, and I'll catch you all later.